All right, here we are back, the Lemonade Show. We took a little hiatus during the month of November. It was absolutely crazy. If you know me, you know that I've got a few different things going on, and if something's got to give, unfortunately, sometimes it ends up being the Lemonade Show, which I know to my millions of viewers is a bit heartbreaking, but here we are. We are back. We are in December. New month, new show, and new guest. And so my guest this week, we've worked alongside each other on a lot of real estate deals over the past, probably 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years at least. And I just have really the utmost confidence and respect him. Every time I need to go, he is my go-to referral for when it comes to a home inspection. And so and for that reason, I'm glad to bring him out, and so we can have a conversation on a little bit of his journey into home inspection, and then even on top of that, I'd love to talk about the importance of home inspection given the current home buying situation, how competitive it is. So we'll talk about that at great length as well. But without further ado, I would love to bring in my guest, Mr. Matt Brumm. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here, John. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and hey, looking good too. I like
on a snowy Tuesday evening, right?
Well, hey, it's Michigan, so what do we expect, right? It's
the kids are hoping for a snow day, and I said, "You guys, you've had a snow day since
since March."
Since March.
So yeah, hey, digging the swag there. So BHI, what's that all about?
Yeah, so Brumm Home Inspection. Yeah. So I had these made by a good friend, Dave Lanier, who has a little shop out in Madison Heights. So shout out to Dave. And yeah, he made these for me my first year in business. So I've got a few of them. So I'm ready to kind of make a new order, as some of them are getting a little ratty, but no, they do well.
Yeah, and well, hey, I mean that's a good thing that they're getting ratty. That must mean that you've been busy out there.
Yeah, it's all those crawl spaces that I love going into. So we'll get into a story about one of the crawl spaces John sent me into a little bit later in the show, and what I discovered walking along the sidewall in there looking at me. Yeah.
I should have given you the heads up beforehand. But all right, hey Matt. So you've been doing home inspection now for I believe you said 6 years, and it started off initially as a side gig, but now you're all in. So kind of walk us through what's going with with that journey from side hustle into, hey, I'm in full time. What's the story?
Yeah, no, great lead off question. So started doing home inspections again, like John said, about 6 years ago. And the initial thought behind it was this is going to be kind of my retirement job. I'm going to slowly kind of work my way into it, navigate getting certified and talking with realtors, getting to know home buyers, and from that, and that was 6 years ago, and really stepping into it initially was really to help support just my kids and just the sports that they do. I have 5 kids and they're all involved in something, and so it was getting to the point where you didn't want to say no to stuff they were doing that was athletic. We weren't supporting their Fortnite rage, but baseball, football, soccer, you name it. And so I wanted to really look at a way to afford those things, and so started doing some home inspections. And before I knew it, really fell in love with it. And that was 6 years ago, and now I'm doing it full time.
Yeah, and so I for those of you that are watching at home, scrolling across the bottom is all of Matt's contact information, email address, as well as website. But yeah, and so so Matt, you've been doing this for for about 6 years, and so what have you noticed has been the greatest sort of value add in the home inspection proposition? And so, like as you're going through this, having obviously you've purchased homes before, and and probably when you've done purchases in the past, you've hired your own inspector. So being on this side of it, what is it that you make sure that that you're providing with your customers, and what do you think is like the most important thing to moving forward?
Yeah, well, first off, back when I've had, so we're in our fourth home now, and each home we had, based on recommendations from our realtor back in our first house in Ferndale, we were told to get a home inspection. And, my first thought is, why am I going to pay even more money to have somebody look at a house that I've already looked through? Granted, at that time, I wasn't a home inspector, so I didn't know what I was looking at. But I thought it was kind of crazy to have, I'm going to already pay all this money for this house. Can't I trust this person who's selling the house to make sure that they add things in their seller's disclosure? And quickly found out that that's not the case. And so we've had home inspections for every home that we've purchased. This last one we're in now, I did the inspection myself, since I went through the course and kind of knew what to look for. Really in a nutshell, whether it's an inspection for somebody who's buying a house, so a pre-purchase inspection, or if it's a inspection for somebody who is selling their house and they want to do what's called a pre-listing inspection. On both sides there, really it protects you. For those who are looking to purchase a home, it really is negotiation leverage. It allows you, if there is any issues with the home, even to back out of it. If you don't feel comfortable with the issues that are found, you can back out of it. Buying a home is going to be, the biggest investment you're going to make in your life.
Yeah.
And so to spend, $300 to $400 on an inspection is really chump change when you look at the amount of money you're going to spend on a home.
Right.
So obviously, I'm going to encourage everybody I run into, because I do this for a business, to get an inspection. But even if you don't use Brumm Home Inspection to do your inspection, use somebody, a reputable company, preferably somebody who comes highly recommended, and it's going to really help you out in the long run.
Right. Oh, without question, because again, I'll speak a little bit on the real estate side of things, right? Where it's no hidden secret. It's not a big secret right now that it's a seller's market. That inventory is crazy low. There's no houses on the market, and so buyers are having to do a lot of wild and crazy things at times in order to win in a multiple offer situation. And so it's just some of those items being appraisal guarantees, some of them being like including escalation clauses. We're seeing escalations go 20, 30, 40, 50 grand above asking price, and it's just absolutely crazy, right? And but that's where you come in all this. Because on a real estate transaction, that inspection window is sort of the safety net for the buyer in that situation. So and so like there's even buyers that have asked me over the years, like, okay, well, to be more competitive, should we just waive the inspection? Absolutely not.
You're right. Right.
Not. So kind of speak to that a little bit in terms of just the importance for that peace of mind going forward.
Yeah, so it really is kind of going back to what I said earlier. It really does become a contingency for you, where if there's something that does come up, you have the ability to back away from it. For someone to go in and have a home inspection, it does give you that peace of mind as well. You don't know going into the house. You may see some of the outstanding issues by walking into a home, and you see things right away that maybe aren't safe. Whether there's not a handrail, or some of the outlets aren't GFCIs, or but there are some things that you're not going to see, whether it becomes the foundation or things in the attic. Nobody wants to go into an attic or a crawl space that could be really detrimental to the safety of the home.
Mhm.
And if you don't get a home inspection, there's no way to go back to the sellers kind of after the deal is done and say, wait a minute, we found this. We'd like to kind of renegotiate. Your negotiation power is completely gone. It's completely
Right.
lost at that time.
Right.
So, having an inspection, paying a few $100 to have it done is going to give you that peace of mind that, it's a safe, sound home. The attic is safe. There aren't any leaks in the roof. The foundation looks secure. As far as the garage goes, all the safety parameters that need to be put in place for a garage with photo sensors, so the garage, reverses its descend while someone goes across goes into the garage door, for just a whole bunch of safety issues that you really don't think about.
Right.
Are things that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And, a home inspection is going to take roughly 2.5 to 3 hours. And so, for me, it's every outlet, it's every window. It's getting up on the roof when it's not too steep or inclement weather. It's looking at those things that you're really not going to think about, and just ensuring that, again, that biggest investment that you're going to make in your life is a sound one.
Yeah.
You never want to go into it blindly. You wouldn't go into, people get online and they research, and they look at places they're going to go to eat. They're going to spend, $25 or $50 or $100 on that. If you're looking at hundreds of, thousands of dollars you're going to spend on a home, why wouldn't you take the necessary steps to ensure that it is a safe one?
Oh, and you hit the nail on the head. I want to go back to one thing you mentioned earlier, and it was such a sound point, right? To where, and so ballpark, if you're talking, 200 to 300, 350, 400, so in that ballpark for an inspection, depending on the size of the home, obviously, against, okay, you and I both live in the Clarkson area. Average home here is about 300-ish thousand. And so 300,000, $300 against $300,000. I mean,
Right.
It's a no-brainer. It is an absolute no-brainer. And one of the reasons why, that you're always my first call, if my buyer doesn't currently have an inspector that they've used and trusted in the past, is that I appreciate that you really are thorough. You do, as you mentioned, like all the GFIs, everything gets checked out. But at the same time, you're very careful to understand what is worth raising a red flag, and what is, okay, this can be handled with a simple trip to Home Depot, not a big deal, right?
Sure.
Maybe touch on some of those ideas between okay, what is a big deal and what's maybe like okay, you can just kind of handle this on, like a typical person could YouTube this and just kind of take care of it on their own with the purchase.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of home inspectors, and I think I've learned it throughout the years of doing this, that you never want to be an alarmist. As soon as you go into an attic and see a little bit of mold, you want to be honest with everybody, but at the same time, mold in the attic, initially people think it's black mold. Now, to know for sure if it's black mold or if it's asbestos tiles and whatever it may be, it needs to be tested. So for a home inspector to come in and tell you without a shadow of a doubt that's what this is, they're wrong. Everything can be fixed. There's a resolution for anything that you're going to find in a home. So again, I don't want to walk into a house being an alarmist. What I'll try to do is I'll go through and I'll be, like John was saying, be as detailed as I can. And but I will do a wrap up after the inspection and kind of go through all my bullet points. When I do the inspections, usually within a few hours of leaving the site, I'll have a detailed report that'll be emailed to both the purchaser and to the realtor. So in this instance, I'd send John a report as well as his client. But prior to that, before I'm ready to leave, I'll go through all the bullet points and let them know this is what I found, kind of, breaking it down in categories of, this is something that you can take care of on your own. Codes change all the time. And one thing for home inspectors is we're not code enforcers. We were really looking at safety issues. I know codes and the reason why they have codes are for safety issues, but we're not code enforcers. So we really are looking at those things that are big safety issues. And a lot of them, because there's been changes throughout the years, are new from one year to the next. And so I'll have grace with the seller by telling the buyer that, something like this you can take care of on your own. We may have a punch list of 30 items or so that I'll go through and say, you can kind of do this on your own. I can give an estimate of how much this is going to cost. This isn't that big of a deal. I see this on every home. Or, hey, there's this here, you would want to get a licensed contractor out here, or a licensed brick mason out here to take care of this brick issue on your chimney. So I really try to be pretty forthright, try to deliver kind of that wrap-up meeting, kind of calm, cool, and collective, not to scare people. I've been there in those shoes myself, especially when I bought my first home. And it's nerve-wracking. You're nervous. You're like, am I making the worst decision of my life? Is this house going to be a money pit? And so one of the things I really try to do is save people from making a poor choice. Now, I'm not going to tell them buy the house or don't buy the house, but I'll pad the stats pretty well. I'll kind of force the card as a magician would, to get you to pick the car that he wants to. But if a house is in pretty bad shape, you will know by the report whether it's something that you should feel comfortable with purchasing or not.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, typically too, what you'll see is, if a buyer knows that they're getting into a fixer-upper, they know what they're getting into in that circumstance too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. And I've had plenty of buyers with that, and they'll say, well, we're hoping that this house is going to maybe cost us about $1,000 in repairs. And it's like, well, it's probably going to cost you more like 30. So just so you know, stepping into it, if that's the route that you want to go, then by all means do it. But, one of the things I really want to do is really give people be able to make an educated decision on the findings that I bring forth on whether or not they want to move forward with a purchase. Yeah. And that there wouldn't be any surprises after the fact. Now, really, when you look at the definition of what a home inspection is, I mean, it's a non-invasive kind of visual examination of the readily accessible components of a home. So it sounds like a run-on sentence, but it's, we're not digging into walls, we're not getting behind drywall, getting into attics, lifting up insulation. I mean, we're visually looking at the components of the home non-invasively. So there may be things that do come up after the fact that we didn't notice. We're not perfectionists. We're not going to find everything, but we definitely do our best. And when you spend 2.5 to 3 hours in the home, again, going through every outlet, every window, getting up in the attic, looking at all the major mechanicals. There's a lot of things that you do inspect, and on some homes you locate a lot of things, and other homes they're in really good shape. But you've got to know too that every home has one issue or another. Yeah. Even homes I've looked at that are brand new builds have cracks in the foundation. And so to think that you can walk into a home and there's not going to be anything wrong with it is just not true. Exactly. So for all these home buyers, I'm sure, John, you probably tell them the same thing, is, it definitely is a very anxious time. There's a lot of anxiety that goes into it, but I mean, I think one of the words that comes to my mind is just to relax. Yeah. Everyone's been through this. You're not feeling anything different than anybody else is. And again, you can have some more peace of mind by having a home inspection, having somebody come through. And the time thing I talked about, 2.5 to 3 hours. If it takes any less than that, even on a house that's 1,000 square feet, I don't think you're getting your money's worth. Right. That inspector should be diligent. They shouldn't pack their schedule so tight where they've got to do a half inspection on yours so they can get to the next one. That's one thing that I try to do, is I try to space them far enough apart, not doing too many in one day. So I can make sure that I can give my client my full attention and take as much time as I need. We talked earlier, first-time home buyers. As you know, first-time home buyers are going to take a lot more of your time just in questions than somebody who's on their 5th or 6th house, who just wants you there just to make sure the documents are signed properly. Right. And so first-time home buyers, they are going to take long, a lot longer than somebody who's bought a couple homes, but I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I will walk around with them. If they want to tag along with me, that's completely okay. I don't allow them to get on ladders and get on roofs and mess around when I take the panel off the electrical panel box. But other than that, I do encourage it. So,
and
I'm kind of just running on. So put your hand up.
no,
If you're like,
no,
shut
no,
up.
no worries. I'm just trying to think of some of the comments that are coming in right now. Coral is standing by, and
House is in one piece. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. I know we had a fireplace issue a while back that we talked about. How funny.
Yeah, and so one thing, one thing, Matt, is just all the times that we've worked together is that I've really appreciated is one, how thorough, two, how easily to read your reports are. It's just very user friendly. To where someone who has no idea on home inspection, or like a first-time home buyer or whatever, that they've never gone through this process, they can look at your report and it's just very easy, readily easy to follow and pick up on in terms of, okay, here's an issue or here's not that big of a deal, right? And
Sure.
And then the other thing that I kind of encourage.
And on that real quick, if I can just interject real quick on that, John, is I'm a simple guy. I don't need to use big words or I go one step beyond writing my reports in crayon. So they're so I do everything. All my software is on my phone. I do pictures and be able to dictate and text into the text and report. So yeah, and what probably takes the longest is actually proofreading everything, making sure that everything sounds right, it's concise. I don't want to just run on just to make myself sound like I'm smarter than I am. So they are pretty easy to follow.
Oh, and I was going to add efficient to that as well. And so just the efficiency with which you get the report back is greatly appreciated as well.
And that's definitely something that, no, go ahead.
No, I get a kick out of it. One step above crayon. I love it. And all right, so hey, a couple things real quick before we move on to our last segment. You mentioned there's a couple of different kinds of inspection that you mentioned here, and
Sure.
And so kind of walk through what just very simple basic terms here. What that means, a pre-listing inspection versus a buyer's inspection versus I know you do offer radon inspections now, and so kind of walk through all that.
Sure. So really in a nutshell, so a pre-listing inspection would be an inspection that somebody would call me and they're in the process of looking to put their home on the market, and they want me to come by and inspect it. And really what that does, and the benefit of that is, obviously it's a great idea because it gives me more business, but at the same time, what it does is when you have somebody come through, a certified home inspector come through and inspect your home prior to listing it, one, it takes the fear out of what an inspector may find when someone who's looking to purchase your home may find, right? Like I said earlier, an inspector is always going to find something. So the benefit of doing it prior to listing your home is that right off the bat, you can take care of maybe the larger items. There may be a punch list that I come up with that's 10 items long or 20 items long. And you can look at that and really be in the driver's seat and say, okay, well, a couple things we can do. We could fix all of them. We could fix only the largest ones, maybe the most expensive ones, or we can fix the cheapest ones. And if there's 10 issues wrong, we can go ahead and fix 8 of them, or there's maybe 2 of them that are a little bit larger. And we can go ahead and actually let the buyers know ahead of time, which just looks really good as a seller, that this buyer comes in and says, oh, wow, they've already told us this. And the benefit of that too, as a realtor, John, that, when you go try to sell a home and or purchase a home and there's issues on the report, and then you're left trying to track down a contractor to give you an estimate of how much it's going to cost to get that fixed. In the meantime, you're trying to close this deal. Things can get pretty anxious. And so what happens is the seller sometimes will pay more just because they want to sell this house as quick as possible because of what was found in the inspection report. Whereas if you do a pre-listing inspection, you can really hash those things out, take your time with them, make sure they're done properly, make sure that they're fixed. And again, it really puts you in the driver's seat.
Right.
Another thing it does is it really allows you to price the home appropriately. If you decide not to get some of the things fixed, you can go ahead and knock some money off the sale of your home. And so when someone goes through it and their inspector is going to find it, you can say, well, actually, we took that into account by how we priced our home. And so that helps out too. Then when it comes to the negotiation phase, again, you're in the driver's seat of it. So it really does help you out.
Yeah. And particularly in this market, right, to where it is a seller's market, and so you're like, well, how does that necessarily work out or how does it work out in my favor if I'm, again, like if you have it all set ahead of time, and but do I really want to let the buyers know that we found a problem? Yes, it's called a seller's disclosure document.
Sure, legally, if there's an issue that's found, you have to state it.
Yes, and the best part is, like, if you know that it's there and you took care of it, even better. Like as a buyer's agent,
and really,
I'm sorry.
If you know that it's there and you took care of it, you don't have to disclose anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to. Now, if there's some things that you may want to disclose, though. Hey, I got a new furnace, or we put a new roof on back 2 years ago, or the hot water heater's brand new. I mean, those are the types of things that buyers want to look at because they know that, hey, I'm making this huge investment. I don't want to have to go ahead and purchase these high ticket items.
Right.
So that's the pre-listing inspection.
Yep.
The inspection that people would typically call or think about kind of as your traditional inspection would be inspection that somebody would do when they're looking to purchase a home. And so John has a client
about the whole time, and I mean that's the one that people typically will think of as their
sure. So so with that inspection, that's hey, I'm going to go buy a house. A friend of mine contacts John, says, John, I want to buy a house, and John says, hey, I know a great realtor. Or I'm sorry, I know a great home inspector. He's not available, so Matt's available. No. So he'll call and say, hey, Matt's available. Go ahead and give Matt a call. He'll call me up. And then I'll go out and inspect the home prior to the purchase. And John, you know more of the background of all they've already, the offer's been accepted by the seller, right? And so then I come in. And I'm kind of like the contingency plan. I come in with looking at the home, making sure that, again, it's safe, it's sound, it's a healthy home, going through all the stuff that we already talked about earlier today. There's no sense in being redundant in what I'm looking at, providing them a report that they can look at, and then they can use that as a negotiation tool. Again, if there's some major issues, they have the ability to go back to John and say, John is our realtor, we're going to have you let the sellers know or the selling agent know that we're going to back away from this deal because there's just too many things that are going to be costly to us.
Right.
Or two, these are the things that Matt presented in the report. What do you think we should do as far as getting things fixed? And then you can look at that as being a realtor and say, well, looking at the market, there's already X amount of offers on the table. These types of things based on what Matt said are pretty small. So I think we just buy the house as is and move forward with it, or it's used as a negotiation tool to say we want to get X amount of dollars taken off the price of the home for these repairs, or we want you to repair them. Yeah. And then just the word of caution with that is when you go forward with having them repair it, you make sure that you have them use a licensed contractor to do the work and that you get receipts for it. Yeah. And then find out what the warranty is beyond that, especially if it's something like fixing a foundation wall. And that's transferable. So when you buy the home, you're not left holding the bag if there's an issue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And those are the three I always recommend, right? It's either price reduction, seller's concession, or licensed professional that takes care of the deal, that takes care of whatever is needing repair. And so those are like typically your three, the three options there. And but then you also are offering radon inspection as well.
Sure. So radon, not many people know about radon, and just the safety hazards of it. Really, in a nutshell, radon is a gas that's produced when uranium decomposes, and there's radium everywhere. For those out there who want to know more, essentially uranium breaks down into radium, which then breaks down to other elements. One of those being the gas that gets emitted, so radon. So the thing about radon is that it's actually the second leading cause of lung cancer. And, there are certain areas within our country, within the world, that have higher levels than others. And so getting a radon test, and again, it's something to be fearful of because the mitigation for it is actually really easy. So a radon test, what I use is what's called a CRM radon monitoring machine. It's a continuous radon monitor. And so it gets placed in the basement of the home or the lowest living area of the home for a total of 48 hours. And at that point, it actually reads how many particles actually are in the air. And so radon is measured in picocuries. And so 4 picocuries or higher, the EPA states that you should have it mitigated. And so what mitigation looks like is really just PVC tubing that gets placed in your sub pump. If you have a sump pump, if you don't, then they core a hole into the basement. They drop a 4-inch PVC line in there. They exit it out of the house, typically through the roof or the side of the house, then up to the rooftop with basically a glorified bath fan that continuously runs. And all that does is creates a suction for it. And so when you look at a radon test, similar to a home inspections for peace of mind, if there's no issues and the radon level comes in below 4 picocuries, then you're fine. There's nothing to worry about. We always suggest, and the EPA recommends that you do get it tested again, say every 3 years. If there is an issue, then you get mitigation. So the radon test, the cost I charge for that is $150. And again, I try to put it in the house 2 days prior to the inspection. So when I do the inspection, I can give you a reading right there when I finish the inspection report. Yeah. The cost of mitigation can charge anywhere between $700 to $1,500. Now, the advantage, similar to having an inspection done, is it gives you a chance to, if you're doing this radon test prior to purchasing the home, during the home inspection, it gives you a chance to go back to the sellers and request that they pay for the mitigation. Again, so you can go back and say, we want you to mitigate this with a licensed mitigation company. And again, the prices range $700 to about $1,500. Whereas if you get the radon test done afterwards, you obviously get the $150 charge from me to test it. And then you're also stuck holding the bag to get the mitigation system installed on your own dime. So it's always beneficial to have it done beforehand. Because again, a negotiation tool. Yeah. And John, being the phenomenal negotiator that he is, he can probably get a few more things thrown in there to the purchase of your home, whether it be a pool table or video games. I don't know. You probably got a list of things that you're able to negotiate, right?
Oh, my go-to phrase is everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable, and that's totally true. And so, why not protect yourself, protect those living in your home by having that taken care of?
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. And you hit a couple of points here that I want to really hit on too. Is that there's a couple of things that come back in inspection that people get freaked out about. I mean, you mentioned mold. Everyone thinks mold means black mold.
Sure. Yep.
That remediation, while a little bit on the pricey side, probably about $2,000. It's not. It's something that can be just taken care of, and more than likely, it's not going to come back. And same thing with radon. Oh my goodness, there's the radon levels are high. Okay, the mitigation is relatively simple, right? And so
it's actually really simple.
Deal breakers, right? These are things that can be taken care of. It's good that we caught it, and let's take care of it. And it more than likely will not be a recurring problem.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, Matt, we're going to head into our last segment, and that's heading into the gauntlet. Now, What we're going to do, we're going to change things up a little bit. We've got a few viewers. We got several viewers that are still with us right now, and so if you stuck with us the whole time, now is the time for you get the opportunity to win some great prizes. Okay, and so the prize this week, all you have to do this week is get the most answers correct out of anybody else. Get the most correct answers out of everybody else, and what you're going to get is compliments of the Lemonade Show. You are going to get a transferable pre-listing inspection provided by Matt Brumm and Brumm Home Inspections. Okay. Provided that you live in Southeast Michigan.
Yeah. As long as you pay for airfare, I'm willing to go anywhere. So that's fine.
All right. So you answer the most questions right at home. Then compliments of the Lemonade Show, you will get a pre-listing home inspection. Compliments of the Lemonade Show. It is transferable. So if you're saying, well, I'm not going to move. Okay. Maybe your neighbor is. Give it to them. It's a great Christmas gift. Okay. And or you're someone in your family is moving. Great, it's transferable, right? And so all right, so how do we win, right? So I'm about to ask Matt 5 questions, this or that questions, like yes or no, this or that, doesn't matter, right? And I'm going to ask him the questions. He's not going to give the answer out loud. He's going to keep it in the internal monologue, right? After the 5 questions, you at home enter into the chat the answer to those 5 questions. Hit enter, send it to me. It'll pop up with me. Then we're going to go back and have Matt actually give his answers. And if every answer that you give that matches Matt's, you get a point. And whoever answers the most points, the most answers correctly, I can't get the words right here, then you will win the pre-listing home inspection compliments of the Lemonade Show. So.
All right, and I'm going to write them down because as soon as I answer that 5th one, I'm going to forget what I put for the first one. So and that way there'll be I'll be able to hold it up too, and everyone can see my answers. So all right, question number 1.
All right, question number 1. All right, and by the way, these are all kind of Christmas themes because since we're in December now. All right, first one. This is yes or no. Die Hard. Is it a Christmas movie? Yes or no?
All right.
Okay, and then folks at home, you should be put all the answers into the same chat and then hit enter at the end. Okay, and so don't one at a time. Put all 5 of your answers in the same chat, then hit enter and send it my way. All right, Die Hard, Christmas movie, yes or no? Question number 2: is your home decorated for the holidays more like Clark Griswold or Charlie Brown? Okay. Question 3. When it comes to actually opening the gifts, does your family open on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Christmas Eve or Christmas Day?
Okay. I was going to write both, and then I realized the rules were one or the other, so I've got to pick one.
One or the other. All right. When it comes to the Grinch, are you going to go with the animated one, the classic one from the 1960s, or the Jim Carrey version?
Okay.
All right. And the best way to say Merry Christmas to a neighbor, by caroling as a family, or just leaving a 6-pack on their front porch.
All right, I've got them all 5.
All right, folks at home, start sending your answers in. Hit enter and send the chats my way. And we're about to get the right answers here. Okay, so
all right, so the 1,000 of watchers that you've got right now, it may take a while, right, to tabulate these.
Millions of viewers. No, they're coming in. They're coming in.
Awesome. And so while they're coming in, I'm just share a quick story about. So there was an inspection that I did for John. It was probably in the summer, and the house had a crawl space, and I don't care what inspector you talk to, nobody likes going into crawl spaces. I mean, it's literally out of a scary movie. when you take that cover off that probably nobody has gone into since the house was probably built. And there comes the point of no return when you are kind of army crawling, and all crawl spaces are a little bit different as far as the size that you have in there. But this one was extremely small, so it was army crawling, couldn't pick your head up much. When I got to the middle of the home, all of a sudden something runs by that I see out of the corner of my eye. And, my first thought, you think, is it a cat down there? Is it a raccoon? What is it going to be? And what can I do? I mean, your hands are in front of you. You can't really lift them up in front of you. And sure enough, it's a rat. And so this thing was, looking back at me behind some of the papers that were in the crawl space. I'm thinking to myself, there's nothing I can do. I mean, if this thing comes charging at me to bite me or whatever, there's nothing I can do. And so, kind of kept one eye on it while I continued to kind of look around. I thought, because once I come out, I'm not going to want to go back in again. So I kind of know where he's at. He's looking at me. Kind of looked around the rest of the crawl space, took some pictures, slowly backed my way out, and kind of got out of it. And but that was a little freaky, to say the least.
Yeah, in fact, I remember that when as you're in there and you yell out to us, "That was a rat." Like,
yeah. So I always, two reasons why I choose to do those towards the end of the inspection. One is you get pretty dirty doing it. And three, if I do get attacked by something, the only positive is at least I get paid for an inspection I just did. So as opposed to doing it in the beginning and you get bit, you don't get paid. So, that's at least that's the only positive. So, yeah.
At least a lovely parting gift.
Right. Exactly. All right. Do we have our votes tabulated?
Yeah. So speaking of lovely party gift, let's get your answers to these questions. Matt, question 1.
Right.
Die Hard, is it a Christmas movie? Yes or no?
I'm going to go ahead and just hold this up. You see this?
Yes.
So that's number 1. No, it's not a Christmas movie.
Not a Christmas movie. Not a Christmas movie. All right.
No, sorry. I mean, I'm more Elf, Christmas Story. Those are Christmas movies. My wife has always wanted me to do at least 1 year of a Clark Griswold. I have yet to do it, and so I'm Charlie Brown.
Yep.
The Christmas Day is when we open gifts with our immediate family. We'll do grandparents and whatnot Christmas Eve, but so Christmas Day. The Grinch. I'm sorry. I mean, I am an old school guy. I love all the cartoon Christmas movies, but when it comes to the Grinch, I'm a Jim Carrey kind of guy. And then don't have a very good singing voice. Probably only one of my kids do. And so 5 kids and my wife and I, if we went, we'd sound pretty awful. So a 6-pack, probably a microbrew, would be my way, and my neighbors would appreciate that a lot more as well. So those are my answers.
Oh, I hear you.
So we have any 5 for 5 contestants?
Oh, let's see here. Not yet. No 5 for 5s. There was no. Let's see. There's a 1, 2, 3. Someone got 3 answers right. Then another one got 2. And
okay. Do we want to do another just one a 1 question answer for? It's only one person got 3 right.
Only one person got 3 right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's up to you how you want to handle it.
No, we'll go with there, and then I'll contact the individual and I'll let them know, and hopefully we'll all be in contact soon. So
that sounds good. Which ones did they get wrong? Just curious.
They said Clark Griswold. The one who got 3 correct said Clark Griswold, so that one was incorrect, and they also said caroling instead of a 6-pack.
Okay, I you know what? I can see the Clark Griswold because they're like, hey, he's a home inspector. He climbs on roofs all the time, So I get it. So good job to the person who got 3 right. That's awesome.
Yeah, and all right. So again, Matt, all of your contact information is scrolling across the bottom. So folks at home, if you are getting ready to move, and or you are in the process of purchasing your next home, if obviously you can contact me. I can put you in contact with Matt, and then we can both make your real estate dreams come true. But
Sure,
you
yeah.
make the purchase, contact Matt right away, and he will protect your investment. Right? You just spent $250,000 or more perhaps on a home.
Sure.
And $300 to protect that investment. Okay, approximately, give or take. I'm not going to out his prices exactly, but approximately, we'll call it approx. Okay, and so contact him right away. Obviously, you can contact me anytime, as always. As my information is here as well. All right, but
sure, yeah. Even if anyone has a question on a home inspection concern, they had a home inspection and they're like, this doesn't make sense. I mean, just get a hold of me. I'm more than willing to share the stuff I've learned over these past 6 years freely. So just let me know. All
right. Well, folks at home, that was another episode of the Lemonade Show, and hope you enjoyed hearing Matt's story out of growing his business from a side hustle into this is full on what he does. And and then with that, we'll see you again next week. We'll announce our guest at a later date. Okay.
Awesome, John. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck moving forward for you. And if I don't see you before the holidays, Merry Christmas to you, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you as well.